Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back. We have another waiver wire show for you guys. November 18th, we got Thanksgiving week next week. We have 4 teams on bye for week 12, getting to the end of the regular season. It's an interesting waiver wire week. I'm assuming that most of your waiver wires probably look like this, where it's pretty picked over. So who knows? Maybe we'll find some guys that might be helpful to you. But I'm assuming most of your waiver wires look like this: Darnell Mooney and a couple scraps. But we're going to cover the waiver wire report first. I see a couple of you guys in here. Good evening to Double Tap. I'm going to go over my waiver wire report, which is on thefantasyfellowship.com. This is the membership report here. So if you guys are interested in seeing this, it's $8 a month if you guys want to check it out. We'll come back and look at these favorite ads of the week, but we got Denver, the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Commanders all on bye. One of the more busier injury weeks, I think, that I can remember of the year so far here, starting at the quarterbacks have been beaten up. Aaron Rodgers has a left wrist injury. Sounds like there's a little bit of a fracture in there. Now, it's his non-throwing hand, which is the good news. And he's got a chance to play in week 12 here. They're going to Chicago, so Rodgers wants to get in that game and see if he still owns Soldier Field. So we'll watch for this report. I think he's going to play. It's his left wrist. I think they can protect it well enough where if he has to take a fall or something, hopefully it's going to be fine. But as long as it's the left wrist, I think he's got a real chance of playing. The big one was Michael Penix with the season-ending knee injury. We'll talk a lot. I'm sure we'll talk about the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is going to be a super flex ad. We'll talk about Darnell Mooney in a little bit here, but Penix, he's had a lot of injuries in his career. This does not feel all that good for the long term. Dylan Gabriel, concussion. I'm not expecting him to play with concussions. I mean, we've seen CJ Stroud. He was ruled out for Thursday Night Football already. So that's going to be 3 games that CJ Stroud's going to miss from a concussion. So these things could linger. I think we're going to get Shedeur Sanders starting in week 12. Joe Burrow, they've had positive reports. He's been practicing. I'm expecting him back maybe next week. I think Thanksgiving week, I think it's more questionable. I think week 14 is the more likely scenario and into the fantasy playoffs. CJ Stroud, again, he's out with a concussion. I think he's going to be back for Thanksgiving. Jackson Dart with concussion. He missed last week. It sounds like he's still going through the protocol. He has a chance to practice tomorrow, so that'll be a big report for him tomorrow. Now we got Josh Jacobs with the knee contusion. It just sounds like it was just banged up pretty good. There's no ligament damage. He just took a hard hit on it. I don't think he's going to play against Minnesota this week. I think he's probably going to be, the Packers have a short week because they play on Thursday on Thanksgiving next week. So I think holding him out of this game makes sense. We'll talk about Emmanuel Wilson later. Bucky Irving, who's been practicing, he looked good in limited practices last week. I think he's got a strong chance to play on Sunday Night Football. They have a tough game against the Rams this weekend, so I think Bucky's back. This one was the big one. Jaylen Warren with the ankle injury. He left maybe late second quarter of last week, and all the fantasy points went to Kenneth Gainwell, so that was a bit unfortunate. But it sounds like Warren's going to be fine. I'm seeing Tomlin saying he's optimistic about Jay Warren playing. We'll watch for reports tomorrow. You have Amarian Hampton, who's on bye this week. We'll see if he gets practicing next week. Chance to play week 13 or 14. Ramondre Stevenson's been out for a little bit with that toe injury, but it might just be fully Travion Henderson season. Dobbins completely out for the year. Isaiah Pacheco did not return after the bye week, but he's got a chance to practice tomorrow, and we'll see if he's on track. You have Trey Benson, who I think he's going to start practicing this week. We have not heard of anything going on with him. I think we're still going to get another week of Bam Knight and Michael Carter. Amari DiMercado does have a high ankle sprain, so I'm expecting him to be out in week 12. So again, Bam Knight and Michael Carter, we'll talk about them. Bashal Tutin did have a little bit of an ankle thing, but he was talking to reporters today, and I think he's going to be fine to play. He would be a priority pickup this week if you can find him in a league. Here's more Atlanta bad news. The knee injury for Drake London. We don't have a lot of clarity on anything. It sounds like he avoided something serious, though. And basically, he's going to miss this week. And then, Thanksgiving weekend, yeah. We'll see if he can get some practices throughout the week. And he has a chance to play week 13 or 14. I'm assuming Marvin Harrison Jr. with the emergency appendicitis last week, probably going to miss one more game. I don't know. I don't feel good about him playing in this week 12 week. And then Brian Thomas Jr., who was limited all last week, I think he's on track to play in week 12. Garrett Wilson still says he could return, but we'll see. The season's pretty much a loss at this point. We have some veterans here we're going to watch for tomorrow. I still think Mike Evans is on track to play week 13 or 14. Tough one for Calvin Ridley. He was finally back on the field, and he made like one of the first catches of the game, broken fibula. Pick up Jaden Reed if you can. I think his practice window, if its practice window is not open this week, I think it's next week that they're going to open it. And we should see him after Thanksgiving. A couple hamstrings here to monitor with these guys in the reports tomorrow. Xavier Legette had a big game last week. He's got a little bit of a hip thing. Rashad Bateman missed last week. We're not really relying on him. Same thing with these guys. I do think Sam Laporta, don't really have a ton of information on him. We don't even know if he's going to be back week 15. So I am a little bit nervous about Laporta for the fantasy playoffs. I am not expecting Dalton Kincaid to play Thursday Night Football. He's got a good chance to suit up for week 13, though. They play Thursday night. They get a few extra days rest. We'll see him practicing hopefully next week. I do think Brenton Strange has a chance to play if you need a tight end. And then I did see Tyler Higbee left last week with the ankle injury for the Rams. If you guys need a quarterback this weekend, Brock Purdy, Monday Night Football, he gets the Carolina Panthers. I think Sam Darnold's going to rebound at Tennessee. I think Trevor Lawrence is playing good football right now, and he's been getting rushing touchdowns at Arizona. Intrigues me quite a bit. I think Davis Mills, man, he might be okay tomorrow night in a Superflex league. And then, Superflex adds Shedeur Sanders, Kirk Cousins, Mason Rudolph. We'll see about Rodgers. And then, I feel good about Jackson Dart playing, so maybe you hold on to Winston for one more week and just see how it goes. Not a big running back week. Kenneth Gainwell would be the priority if Jaylen Warren is not going to play, but I think for now it looks like Jaylen Warren's going to play. So either way, though, Kenneth Gainwell shows that he operates really well in this offense, and he's a priority handcuff at this point. But if you need a running back too for this week, like Devin Singletary, Emmanuel Wilson, those are the two guys that you're looking for. I also think Bam Knight and Michael Carter are going to split the backfield this week against the Jags. So those guys make sense. I think Sean Tucker should be added, but if Bucky Irving is playing, like what are we looking at here with this three-way committee split for the Bucs? I don't know. If you don't need a running back this week, but just want to make a good pickup, Chris Rodriguez Jr. is the lead back for the Washington Commanders. So he would be someone that's on my radar. So not a big week for running backs, but there should be one or two players there that I think you guys can add to your depth. Jaleel McLaughlin is going to be the RB2 behind RJ Harvey. And he did get a goal line touchdown last weekend. But we're fully in that handcuff season stretch. And I think I need to move Tootin up because I think there's a chance Tootin, he had 15 carries to ETN's 12 midway through the third quarter before he left with injury. So Tootin is the guy that might get more work as the year goes on. So I feel good about him. Feel good about Ollie Gordon, Blake Corum, Tank Bigsby. These guys are starting to emerge as good handcuff options. Receivers are going to be pretty beat up. Darnell Mooney would be the priority. And the rest of season outlook for Mooney doesn't look good. As long as, London's out, I think Mooney's going to be a startable wide receiver 3 flex. And we saw him play well enough with Kirk Cousins last year where I'm not too worried about things. So Mooney would be a priority. I think Christian Watson would be a priority, but he's probably picked up. I think Alec Pierce was probably picked up, but they were on bye last week. So maybe he's out there. Michael Wilson, man, like if Marvin Harrison Jr. misses another game, we're starting Michael Wilson. I think I'm going to have him in my top 36 rankings tomorrow. And then Trey Tucker, he looked pretty good. I thought he looked really good last night. He was getting open a lot. He had a couple plays where the ball was knocked out at the catch point. He needs to be a little bit stronger there. But he got the touchdown. He's a deep ball threat. They like to get him the ball in space. And he was getting open. So I think Trey Tucker is the number one receiver. I think he had 8 targets last night. He's a good pickup. You also have, what else we got here? Jalen Coker intrigues me a little bit. He came alive last week for the first time of the season. And then, Jaden Higgins. He's starting to emerge as the clear number 2 receiver for the Houston Texans. I don't know if it's a good, I'm not going to start Jaden Higgins on Thursday Night Football. But, man, if he goes out and catches a touchdown and is looking good as the number 2 receiver, we're going to feel good about that pickup. So a couple guys here that can help you at the receiver position. I do see the AJ Barner question from Double Tap there in the comments. Dude looked really and he's looked good throughout the year. He just hasn't been a consistent fantasy option. He's caught a few touchdowns and made a couple big catch and runs, but 10 targets, 10 catches last week, like that might be something that is starting to get stickier. And who knows, maybe he's a viable tight end one option the rest of the way. If you guys need a tight end, these are the ones that I'm looking for this week. Juwan Johnson, again, Brenton Strange has a chance to suit up again. But I kind of like adding AJ Barner, even if I have say I already have a Dalton Schultz or, one of these guys on this list. I think I want to continue to add another tight end and see how this unfolds. So Barner, say you have, Kyle Pitts, or say you have, I don't know, another fringe top 10 tight end that you're not super in love with, add AJ Barner and let's see where this goes. I mean, 10 catches, 10 targets. Again, that was a pretty good number last week for him. And then other guys that I think could be sneaky this week, Chico Okonkwo for the Titans. Interesting guy. The matchup for them this week is pretty good. Going against, who did the Titans play this week? I cannot remember. Seattle. Seattle allows a lot of fantasy points at the tight end position. So maybe it's Okonkwo. We can look at that stuff later. I think Noah Fant's an intriguing option this week too, with Jamar Chase out. He did have, I think, 4 or 5 targets last week, and he's been pretty steady. So hopefully you guys got your tight end stuff situated. But AJ Barner would be the priority for me. And I'm open to him being viable the rest of the season. I'm just going to queue it up, but we can pull up the post-game notes from this AJ Barner game, because him and Elijah Arroyo had been kind of splitting the numbers, the snaps and the route. They've been splitting them pretty much all season in more of a 60-40 split. But in this game, we saw a huge shift towards AJ Barner. So out of 84 total snaps, Barner plays 74 and 39 routes out of 46. Again, 10 targets on 41 total targets for the Seahawks. I did feel pretty good about that. So maybe something's there. If you guys need a defense this week, Seahawks at Tennessee is a no-brainer. The Packers versus the Vikings, I think that's a good one. The Lions at home against the New York Giants is a good one. And then the Ravens, they're starting to play good ball on both sides. I get the Jets at home. I like that. And then maybe the Jags at Arizona, maybe the Browns. That Browns-Raiders game is going to be really gross. The Raiders could even be an option for you. And then I do think the 49ers maybe. The 49ers, in theory, I want them to be a good defense, but they're really not. Maybe that's a good Monday night game. So there you have it. I'm just going to leave the favorite ads here up on the list. And let's get into some questions. Wow, we have over 100 people in the live chat tonight. I appreciate you all hanging out with me on a Tuesday evening. Like the video, please, if you guys could. That helps me grow my little channel. And check out thefantasyfellowship.com. Good evening to Sports Dog. Week 11, win now 6-5. And 4th place, 5th place is also 6-5. So we need to drop 2 players. You can go ahead and fire that up, Sports Dog. Fire that up. Dad, that you. Okay, so this is a good one. Is Jay Fields droppable at this point, or bench stash? Tyrod a good streaming option this week? I think let's pull up the old fantasy points per game metrics. I do so. The Ravens they're finally healthy on defense, so their fantasy points per game, when I'm looking at them, they're not going to be very good on these charts. They do rank 23rd. They allow about 17.5 fantasy points per game to the running back position or to the quarterback position. I do think Tyrod Taylor is gonna boost the passing game a little bit, but honestly, we're throwing to Adonai Mitchell, John Mechie, Mason Taylor, Breece Hall. I don't know how good of a streaming option Tyrod Taylor. He's probably not going to be in my top 25. I mean, there's 4 teams on bye, so that means 28 QBs. He might be right in that 23, 24, 25 range for my QB ranking. So if you need him, I think he's fine. You're going to hope for 12 to 15 points. So I wouldn't say he's a good streaming option. I think he's okay, and he should be a fringe top 25 QB this week, even though we only have 28 QBs to choose from. I'm probably going to hold on to Fields for at least one more week. Let's see if Tyrod, if he looks okay, or if he's been kind of injury prone throughout his long career. I think I'm going to hold on to Fields one more week. And yeah, we like AJ Barner this week. Let me pull up those tight end points per game here because I did note the Seattle Seahawks, they do rank 29th against the tight end. So that's why I was kind of mentioning Chico Conquo could be an interesting guy this week. The Tennessee Titans, they rank 11th here. So they've been pretty stingy against tight ends, under 12 fantasy points per game. But, I mean, if you were to get 12 points from A.J. Barter this week at tight end, you're going to be like, sign me up. Now, keep in mind, they do use Elijah Arroyo at times. So maybe it's more like 7 to 10 points for Barner, I think, for his floor this week. So I have this weird thing with Andre Yoshibas because, like, I know he's going to be out there. Like, and this is usually what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a guy that's going to, like, he's the clear number 3 receiver here. He would be the clear number 2 with Jamar Chase out. He's going to probably run every route, every snap this week for the Bengals. But I just, he's not a great player. He's kind of a guy that's just there, and he runs a lot of cardio. He could pop off for a touchdown. I don't think I'm going to start him. He's probably not going to be in my top 50 of wide receivers this week, but he'll be kind of in that fringe, 50 to 60 range. So I think he's worth picking up, but if you're not going to use him, I'm probably not going to pick him up. I think there's better plays that I could have than Yoshibas this week, especially off the waiver wire. I don't hate Tyler Shuck, man. Last we saw the dude, he was winning games and beat Carolina and had a great, I think it was like 18 or 19 fantasy points. The Atlanta Falcons, they do rank middle of the road here. This one's in New Orleans as well. 16.5 fantasy points per game. Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Alvin Kamara, these guys are all coming off an extra day of rest. I would rather play Tyler Shuck. I'm probably going to have Shuck ranked ahead of Tyrod Taylor this week. So I do like that quite a bit. And I'm going to go. So this is the Fellowship Money League here with a few of the listeners that watch the show. I'm just going to take a peek here because this is a league where it's a competitive league. And this is probably what a lot of your waiver wires look like. To me, yeah, I'm playing Davis Mills, Jacoby Brissett, Tyler Shuck. I'm going to have them ranked above Tyrod Taylor. I might even have Bryce Young ranked ahead of Tyrod Taylor. Guys that I'm playing Tyrod over is probably Geno, the Browns QB, maybe Kirk Cousins, definitely over Cam Ward. So yeah, he's right in that QB 24-25 range. But I think I'm excited about Brissett, Mills, and Shuck over Tyrod Taylor. And we've seen a little bit of Tyrod. One game, he got 16.5 points. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup for these games. So I don't really have a good feeling. It's the Jets offense that's the issue for me. Alrighty. If your waiver wire looks like this at running back, so I got no Emmanuel Wilson. Like I think I would prioritize Bam Knight here. If this is what we're looking at, Bam Knight, only 5 carries, 24 yards, but he did get the rushing touchdown. He also caught 4 passes for 21 yards. Even if you remove that rushing touchdown, 8.5 fantasy points, I can squint and I can see a low-end RB2 day against the Jags. I think the backfield's going to be pretty heavily split between Carter and Bam Knight. Let me actually show you guys what it looked like last week. And I do like Amari DiMercado. He's not going to play. And you can see he was going to be a huge part of this offense. He'd get 14 snaps and he got the ball 7 times in those snaps. But Michael Carter led the way. And keep in mind, this was a blowout. Like the Cardinals were playing from behind. So Carter is the receiving back here, 7 targets, 5 catches. Bam Knight's the lead runner back. So I think both guys are viable. I think Jacksonville's going to win. So I would say Michael Carter maybe gets the edge for me in my rankings, but it's going to be close. If you need a running back this week, Bam Knight, Michael Carter are the 2 that I'm looking at. Other stash plays include Dylan Sampson, Keaton Mitchell coming around here. Big plays, yards per catch or yards per carry, starting to get 4 to 6 carries per game. He would be the handcuff there that I'm looking for. So tough week for running backs, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. If this is what your receivers look like, and I'm assuming maybe Mooney's out there in some leagues, but Yoshibas is probably going to be at the top of a lot of guys' lists. And with Yoshibas, he needs the touchdown to make our lineup. Maybe he gets one of these 5 for 82 games. That could totally be the case. But for the most part, I think he's a guy that just struggles to get open. He's a guy that's going to run a lot of routes and be available. I just don't know if he's going to earn a lot of Joe Flacco targets for me to start him. Like I might even, if I had to play a guy on this list, like, yeah, I'd play Mooney over him. But if I had to play somebody else on this list, like I might just play Sterling Shepard. If no Chris Godwin, like Shepard coming off 5 targets, 4 catches last week, I might even prefer a guy like John Mechie or Adonai Mitchell. I'll tell you what, if Darius Slayton's out, we didn't even talk about Isaiah Hodgins, but Hodgins looked really good. 5 for 57 last week. I think most of these catches were on third downs too. So some big time moment where he was making big plays for the Giants. And then if Xavier Legette is missing practice and trending towards doubtful, I do think Jalen Coker is in play as well. So I'm not super, super in love with Andre Yoshibas if you need a receiver this week. If you need a tight end this week, this is probably what we're looking at. I might just go Noah Fant. Like I would rather play Noah Fant than Andre Yoshibas. And with Noah Fant, I know I'm going to get some catches. He's caught a couple touchdowns in the last few weeks with Joe Flacco. I'd almost rather play Noah Fant over Andre Yoshibas at flex. But again, Chico Okonkwo is a name that I think he had a good game last week. He went 3 for 56. Seattle gives up tight end points. And then a deep stash. Darnell Washington, he's starting to come around and make some big plays. I think a lot of people saw that big catch and run that he had the other day, 4 for 67, starting to make some headway here as the tight end 1 for the Steelers. And then if you need a defense this week, this is probably what you're looking at. Someone's already got the Raiders. I do want to point out, I want to stash the Eagles defense, by the way. The Eagles are going to get, they're going to get Chicago, the Chargers, but they're going to get the Raiders and the Commanders here in the fantasy football playoffs. Las Vegas and the Commanders, again, weeks 15 and 16. If you're in good shape and you can afford to sit on a defense here, I think adding the Eagles is a good one. But if I need a defense this week from this list, yeah. I mean, I guess I'll play the Saints against Atlanta. I know it's Bijan Robinson, but I guess I'll go the Saints here. I don't feel great about that at all, but I guess that's where we're going to go with it. So let me get caught up on some questions here. So Vidal, QJ, Shakir, Stevenson need to drop 2. I think I'm dropping Kamani Vidal with the likelihood that Amarian Hampton's coming back, whether it's week 13 or 14. It doesn't sound like you need Kamani Vidal. And even if, Hampton's not back week 13, it's okay. I think you can move on from Vidal as long as you're not going to need him for week 13. I think it's okay. And week 13, every NFL team plays Thanksgiving weekend. There's no buys, so you should have a full roster. So I think Vidal is one of the easier calls here. And then at this point, I don't know if Stevenson's going to help you out. With Travion Henderson fully out of the bag, I'm going to hold on to Shakir and Quentin Johnston. And if we're dropping I don't know if you have more running back depth, but I'm probably dropping the 2 running backs here. I think Stevenson's falling out of favor. He's got the toe injury, and this looks like Travion Henderson's backfield now. Okay. So I dropped Chris Godwin in a dynasty league this last week. I don't feel good about it. And he's on track to play this week. However, he did get some limited practices in last week. He's coming off that nasty ankle injury, and then he gets back from that, and then he has this fibula thing. I don't have a lot of faith in him in a redraft league. I think I'm fine adding somebody else. I just don't know if we're ever going to feel good starting him. Maybe 2026, the outlook looks better, but this is looking like a lost season for Godwin, at least for this season. And then we're going to get Mike Evans back too. So what's that pecking order look like with a healthy Evans and Igbuka, Tez Johnson? Like, I think there's just a lot going on here. So I don't feel great about Chris Godwin. I'm probably moving on from him for any of these receivers here. I'm definitely moving on from him. And yeah, 6'7", 6'7". Good evening, 6'7". But yeah, we got a lot of good things brewing here. I did update the rest of season rankings today for members if you guys want to check those out. We have the DraftKings game lines up. Let's take a peek at that and see what we're looking at for this weekend. I think we got a few blowouts on our hand here. The Ravens versus the Jets should be a blowout. Seattle at Tennessee should be a 2-score game. We'll see. Like, if Jackson Dart's out there, I do think he's just a guy that's always going to be in the end of the game. So I don't expect, if Jackson Dart plays, I think 11.5 is too much for a spread there. Patriots at Cincinnati. It's in Cincinnati, so I'm going to give Joe Flacco a chance here, even though Jamar Chase is going to be out. I'm probably going to have T. Higgins ranked like wide receiver 7 tomorrow. So if you guys are, I got 100 people in here, so I just got to say, if you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, please like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. But Wednesdays is the day I usually do my first pass at a weekly ranking. So we'll have those tomorrow night. And again, tomorrow, Wednesday night, we do our live show at 7 p.m. Central, same time as tonight. So we'll go over rankings and player news tomorrow. But the 49ers at home against Carolina. Carolina's playing good football right now. 49ers defense not playing good football, but this offense for San Francisco, oh my goodness, they're kind of on a nice little ramp here to end the season, and they hold the 7th seed right now. I like the 49ers on offense. I think the Packers touchdown favorite at home against Minnesota. The Vikings offense can't really put together any consistency. Rams Tampa Bay on Sunday Night Football. I am pretty excited about that one. Eagles, Dallas, that's going to be a good game. We got the Chiefs and the Colts. That's going to be another good game. I'm actually like low-key a little excited about the Bills tomorrow night in Houston. I think Davis Mills has kind of given this team a little bit of life with the passing game. Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Dalton Schultz, Woody Marks sprinkled in there as well. And then, man, Chicago, NFC North leading Chicago Bears, they're going to host the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers, man, I know he's going to be trying to play in that game and see if he still owns Soldier Field. Obviously, the worst game of the week is going to be the Raiders and the Cleveland Browns. I need to see if that line still hold up to -3. Jags Cardinals could be a fun, high-scoring game. Falcons Saints, not excited about that game for the most part here. So we got some good ones on schedule for week number 12. So I'm pretty optimistic on Bashal Tutin. I did see, I got to remember where I saw it, because he was talking to reporters this week or this morning, I believe. Let me see if I can find it for us. I think Underdog tweeted it. So I think there's optimism that Tutin's going to be fine. He avoided anything serious. I'm going to see if I can find it relatively quickly here. I don't think they have anything for us. Let me go to Bashal Tutin. Well, I know he was talking to reporters, which is a good sign today. I think he plays. I don't know if I'm going to play him this week if I have him. We kind of want one more data point to see if he's healthy, but I think there's a legit chance. And, dude, their schedule the rest of the way, yeah, they have the Colts twice and Denver on that schedule, but they're going to get Tennessee twice. They get Arizona this week, and they get the Jets. So there's going to be some definite weeks where we're interested in Bashal Tutin. So he would be, to me, he's a priority. If he's out there on the waiver wire, I think Tutin looks really, really good. And Steven says we have buy spots to fill this week. The drop options are DJ Moore, Harold Fannin, Pitts, Pierce, pickup options, Tucker, Wilson, Gainwell. What order do you rank drops and pickups? I'm going to start with the pickups because I think it's pretty simple. It's Emmanuel Wilson as the priority pickup stash. They've already kind of said that Jaylen Warren is optimistic that he's going to play. So that takes a little bit of steam off Kenneth Gainwell. And then I'm really unsure with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I think Bucky Irving's going to play this week, man. So it takes a little bit of the steam off of Tucker, Rashad White, as well as Kenneth Gainwell. So Emmanuel Wilson would be the priority for me. For drops, I'm probably going to drop Harold Fannin here. I think Kyle Pitts with the Drake London injury, I'm more likely to start Kyle Pitts this week than Harold Fannin. I want to keep Alec Pierce, DJ. So I'm going to rank these in separate buckets here. The receivers, I want Alec Pierce ahead of DJ Moore. So DJ Moore is more droppable to me. And then for the tight end buckets, I think Pitts is your keeper. Fannin's more droppable. So it's between DJ Moore and Fannin. I'm actually okay adding multiple backs here if you want to take a stab at these guys. I think with Tampa Bay, Sean Tucker might just be really good, and they just might, let Bucky Irving kind of slowly work his way back in. So I think rest of season, Tucker and Gainwell are probably the better holds because they're going to be involved in the base offense still. But if you need someone for this week to start with your bye weeks, it's got to be Emmanuel Wilson. But I'm open to adding. I think I'm going to add Kenneth Gainwell over Sean Tucker, just because Jaylen Warren, he's been kind of banged up throughout the year. Now he's got an ankle injury. He could tweak that again. And they're showing that Kenneth Gainwell is the workhorse if something does happen. So for ranking these RBs, it's Emmanuel Wilson for this week, Kenneth Gainwell, and then Sean Tucker for me. Again, as much as I like Sean Tucker, that's probably how I'm going to do it. That's a tough question, though. But that's going to do it for tonight, guys. We went a good half an hour. Again, we got over 100 people here tonight, so that's pretty cool. That's a good number for me. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me on this Tuesday evening. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we will go live at the same time, 7 p.m. Central Time. We will go over my start-sit charts, which are available on thefantasyfellowship.com. I do have those up for the week number 12. I'll give you a sneak peek here. These are the Bills and the Texans charts. But we'll hang out tomorrow night. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, guys. Good luck with your waivers. Save some money if you can. We got, the playoffs right around the corner. I like to make sure I have a little bit of cash in the fantasy playoffs, just to, whether it's blocking players or if I have to do something drastic, I like to save a little bit of cash. So if you can, save some cash. And then the other move that I like to do is, I'll put some like $0 and $1 bids on some guys for the waiver wire run, but I always set my alarm early and I'll go to the waiver wire and see who was left over and just add some guys for free. So it's time to start adding handcuffs, be a week ahead on some of these running backs, guys like Bashal Tutin, Tank Bigsby, Ollie Gordon, handcuffs. That's the season that we're in. So again, I want to say thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you guys are new. I appreciate all of you and have a good rest of your evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace.